So, why are there a lot of Christians that don't like Paul? Now, if you've been around for a little while, you may know this to be true. Others of you might be a little bit surprised that there are so many people who don't like Paul. But regardless of what camp you're in, and regardless of what you may think the reasons are, I think this is both an easy and difficult thing to answer. You see, simply put, the reason people don't like Paul is clearly because of the things that he says. I can't think of another reason not to like a guy who's 2,000 years old. But at the same time, we do have to realize that what Paul is saying isn't somehow objectively worse than what any of the other disciples say. You see, I think a lot of times the people who dislike Paul try to disassociate Paul from Jesus and from Peter and from everyone else. And that is because Paul's message is a lot more urgent, and it's to a different group of people than what we see in a lot of scripture. You see, when we are listening to the voice of Jesus, Jesus is talking about things in the context of telling people who should already know better, clarifying notes on what scripture means. Now, that's not to say that Jesus doesn't preach to Gentiles or people who don't know, but his audience is largely the Jewish community, talking about Old Testament scriptures that have existed for thousands of years and simply providing clarity to them. It's only after Jesus' resurrection that we have people like Paul who are actively seeking out Gentiles or people who never believed in God to begin with, and then going out and trying to catch them up on all the things that have been happening in Jewish scripture. Now, also, it's important to point out that Paul is talking to Jews as well as Gentiles here. But when we read his letters, it's clear that he's coming from a place of, let me just explain everything for you so you have it all here. And I think that's what we end up seeing when we have conversations, and some of the deeper, grittier stuff is Jesus never addresses that outright in a big, bold statement. He addresses those things subtly, but not in a way that just really kind of grabs and rips at you if that's something that you're struggling with. Meanwhile, Paul is not afraid to get into the weeds because he knows that he's talking to a very large, very diverse group of people who don't know better. Overall, Paul is trying to do Jesus' job and more, not only clarifying things that are in Scripture, but bringing people up to speed who don't even know the Scripture to begin with. And because he's trying to do all of that with such urgency and with such intensity, I think it creates a big issue for people who want to read Scripture and not feel like they're being attacked. Because Paul is attacking sin. But let me know what you think. I think it's a very interesting question to be asking, and I'll see you tomorrow.